Hey, Christy.
Hi, Kelly.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Yes,
How's your
yes.
week?
My week. Let's see. Well, the other day, what did I do? Oh, yeah, after 3 iced coffees and a confrontation with my ex and crying in the school parking lot, I still called the day a win. Turns out that's not a normal win. And there's a lot of anxiety in those situations.
I mean, honestly, I thought anxiety was just having a busy calendar and a tight chest. Are you telling me that's not normal?
A tight chest, like
Not
boobs?
not tight, like
Like,
toy.
oh,
I mean, like,
you
oh,
mean like,
grab your arm.
you're like, is this heartburn or am I dying? Okay, guys, welcome back to Vertically Unstable, where success is subjective, spiraling is seasonal, and our coping mechanisms have their own zip code.
On today's episode, we're talking anxiety. I thought that was just personality. This one's for all of us high achievers who have the racing thoughts and the people pleasers who are trying to get into recovery, and anyone who's ever said, I'm fine, when silently screaming in the Trader Joe's frozen food aisle.
We're breaking down ambition, anxiety, people pleasing, and how generational trauma passed down like family casserole, cold, mysterious, and still served at every major life event.
Let's start by talking about panic attacks. Panic attack. Is it a panic attack or is it just another Tuesday?
So, when did you have your. Sorry, my dog needs to go. Sunny.
Sonny's having a
Sunny,
panic attack.
listen, Sunny has anxiety, okay? I did some research after buying the dog. It turns out that golden doodles tend to be neurotic as hell. I'm like,
A little bit of
what in the
separation.
like this dog could like live like on my side and still not be close enough to me.
I just don't
Okay.
understand why you're saying all those words in a negative way. But anyways, you and I and our approach to our dog parenting is another topic.
Well,
Let's get back to anxiety.
Okay, but be clear, I'm still parenting the littles, right? So I get
Yeah,
enough
cool.
of that. Like my kids are still want to like hang on to me,
You
and
got the glommies that are
I got
humans.
the little glommy humans. Okay, back to anxiety. So
Yeah.
Kelly, when was your first panic attack?
I want to say I don't think I've had a panic attack because I don't think I've had a panic attack and I
Get
don't.
off the show. Get off.
End scene. This is over.
This is over. We're done.
But I do in the last couple of years. I realized that I had anxiety and I was like, oh, is that what this is? And I swear to you, it was related to perimenopause because there was all this other stuff going on. And I felt like if somebody was grabbing me by my throat, that's what it felt like. And I was like, oh my God, this is anxiety. I've never had this before. This is some bullshit. And for me, it is just like irrational overanalyzing of the worst case scenario that is far worse than the actual thing I'm worried about.
Listen, you and my sister, congratulations. It showed up late in your life. Mine's been around since I think I've had my first panic attack when I was 14.
Oh my gosh, what did that look like?
I thought I was going to die. I was on a plane and it got really, really turbulent, like the roller coaster turbulent. You know, when it's so turbulent that even the guy that like acts like he's not on a plane is kind of like grabbing onto the thing,
Grabbing
going,
his seat a little
"Hey."
bit.
So I was like, I'm gonna, and my chest got super tight. I started pouring sweat, and then I was pretty good for a long time. And I think I was maybe 2 years into my first big girl job at an agency. We had a huge client meeting with like the VP. It was for Harris Casinos. We had like everyone from the VP of marketing. We had the president of our agency in there, and my boss's boss's boss was like, Diesel, go write notes on the board. Go do
Like
the whiteboard.
Scribe.
Go scribe. And I can't spell. So I'm in a room of 20 people.
She's not writing pirate like the last episode.
Like, pirate. No, but what's funny though is my first boss at that agency knew I couldn't spell. And I just abbreviated everything. Well, then it was my job to then send the notes to everyone. So many abbreviations. I could not
You're like,
figure
what
out
the fuck was
for
I
the
writing?
life of me what the fuck we were talking about. So that was fun. This is pre-chat GPT and pre-laptops being in every single meeting. But yeah, that felt very similar. I thought I was going to die. I started sweating profusely. I think I was like 24 when that happened. Go ahead.
Sorry, you go ahead.
It still haunts me to this day. I'm like, no one asked me to take notes.
Do not make me write on a whiteboard. I think it's funny though, because especially when they're work situations, you're just talking to yourself like, I got this. This is fine. I'm a bad bitch. I'm a girl boss. I got this. And it's your body's like, the fuck you do. So you can try to trick your mind as like, I can trick my mind and your body is reeling. Okay. Can I
Really?
hide this? Reeling.
Reeling. So we've got anxiety, we've got panic
Yep.
attacks. Some of us were blessed to have them in perimenopause, but my sister one day, I talk to her every day. I'll never forget. It was like maybe 4 years ago. She called me and she said, "Have you dealt with this your whole life?"
Oh,
And I said, she's like, I woke up and it felt like an elephant was on my chest
yeah.
and all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, welcome to my life. And she's like, how did you survive? I'm like, very good drugs. Very, very good
Yeah.
drugs.
I would have said that. I'd be like, relax, take a break, take a breath, like you're fine. But these like racing thoughts, even my logical mind is like, Kelly, this is not a big deal. Like you are overanalyzing this, put this away, forget about this is stupid. And you can't stop thinking about it. I'm like, just like, oh my God. And it's not just the nervous feelings, right? It's the whole I gotta pretend like I'm not nervous and I'm on the Broadway fucking stage doing Hamilton, right? Because you're at work and you're like, this is fine. Meanwhile, your pits are sweating and you're ready to cry. It's not great. 0 stars. Do not
Sorry,
recommend.
anxiety gets 0 stars. So I actually was going to wear it, but I couldn't find it. I was anxiety from Inside Out 2
For
for
Halloween.
Halloween. And I had these big glasses. I'm gonna have to find them. I'll post a picture whenever when I find the picture after this podcast. But they were the big bug eyes, right? I could
Yeah,
barely
yeah.
freaking see. And I went to my son's kindergarten classroom, and I stayed in character. I mean, because why not?
Let's be clear. When Christy says she stayed in character, it means she removed the facade of calmness that she puts on every day and just acted like herself.
I was like, "Is this how we want to glue this? Is this the right way? Am I doing it right? What is happening? Is anyone gonna like me? Why are these people staring at me like I'm crazy? Oh, maybe I'm a little crazy. How are you? Hello." No, and so I did stay in character. And Kelly, this little girl, looks at me and she goes, "Anxiety, is that really you?"
Aw.
And I was like, glasses off. I'm like, "No, I'm just Colton's mommy, honey. It's okay. It's okay." And then I'm like, "Oh my gosh, what sort of emotional damage
Yeah.
did I do to that little girl?" And I'm like, "Just remember to always choose joy.
Now you got
Like,
anxiety
listen
about
to
being
joy."
anxiety and
I
making her anxious.
I was like, I gotta get out of here. Like these kids, like, because the eyes were enough that if you were little and you still
Yeah.
suspend belief.
You were like the opposite of Santa Claus. She was like, fuck, there really is a thing called anxiety.
Well, but also, like, I mean, I'm a likable person, not to be cocky, but I am. Like, this is who I am. I'm the middle of 9 kids. Like, I came out of the womb, like, hey,
Please and
somebody like me.
please.
Please, please like me. Just keep me. Please keep me. And so I was so nervous. I was so anxious that after I left there that she liked me and then she'd think anxiety was a good thing. And I'm like, well, it's necessary, but it's not a good thing.
But motivational, but also probably not great. So that's a good segue into a segment we should talk about. Is it high achiever or highly anxious? Because I feel like the answer is yes.
It's and both.
Yes. And yes, and yes.
Yes and yes. I don't know. I had a boss one time, and it wasn't in the too distant past that said, someone's like, Christy, stop being anxious. And she's like, no, she needs to be anxious because if she's anxious, I'm not.
Nice. Oh,
And I
great.
was like, well, that's fucking
That
toxic.
that feels unhealthy for
I
me.
was like, that's not really, wait a minute. Because especially like in my line of work, right? I work, more the business side of marketing and advertising, and I'm constantly thinking about what's going to go wrong.
Mm.
So, like, you go to a shoot or something, I've got like plan A, plan B, plan C, plan D, and plan 25, right? Like they're all there. So it had sadly, both my ADD and anxiety have served my career, which is kind of sad. Like I mean,
Yeah.
because it's like I wake up in the middle of the night and I have to answer an email or is this okay? Or,
Yeah.
just the constant and then being able to multitask like a crazy person, right? And it's like, okay, these are things that people like, try to work through in therapy, but they're helping me get promoted again and again and again and again.
Well, I think busy is a badge of honor, right? And so they say if you want something done, go ask the busiest person, which is terrible for the person. But I think that that's the world that we live in. And even we schedule the shit out of our kids. They're in Kumon and they're in this and they're in that and they do this and that, like,
What's
so,
Kumon?
oh, it's like getting tutored in whatever.
Okay.
It's a brand of tutors, but for so many of us, that's we're like busy is good, right? This is great. It's the way of the world, it's a lifestyle, but I think it's really just a coping mechanism because it's like if I slow down, I have to think about this stuff and then I'm going to overanalyze everything. So I'm just going to stay busy.
And I listen, I will tell people, they're like, "Oh, you're busy enough." I'm like, "You make me busier and I'll get more done." The
Yeah.
busier I am, the more productive I am. Because again, I don't have time to sit there and self-doubt Christy and go, "Well, they're probably going to hate this and think you're stupid."
No, I mean, you may have escalated that, but I do think that you
Hello,
get gold
anxiety.
you get gold stars for burning out quietly. That's what happens.
You're
and
like,
and I'm a fixer, and my mom would always say that I'm her problem solver, and I think you get applauded for fixing everything, and so you're like, oh, like give me something to fix, and then you just keep going. But I don't think it's ambition. I think it's our survival instincts kicking in, right?
I mean, yeah, I was never, I mean, listen, I wanted like the perfect house and the perfect family and a picket fence.
Yeah,
And I wanted to be successful at what I did, sure. But I was never the person that had to be the best. Like
yeah,
that just wasn't my, I mean, again, I had four older siblings that everyone had better talents than me. I mean, I took a different path. I was like, I'm just going to move to Ireland and be the crazy one. Like this will be fun. I'll work in advertising. Why not? No one else is doing that. But it was never like, oh, when I grew up, I want to be an executive.
yeah,
I always just want to be happy. Like I
yeah.
was like, I just want to be happy. Can I be happy? And so I think again, like the high achieving part was comprised of not wanting to let people down,
Mm-hmm.
needing the external praise,
Yeah,
right? Because I didn't have it for myself. So I really needed to be
yeah.
told I was
You
good
did
at
a good
things.
job. Yeah,
Great job, Christy. Good job. Keep going. Right. And I was even praised for, having some seriously unhealthy coping mechanisms. Like, you go through a divorce and you do what? Oh, you run a marathon and get an MBA. Like
yeah,
everyone's like, oh, you're so strong. No, it's really just that I'm trying to control something. Yes, I
yeah.
am strong. Yes, I am disciplined, those things. But like, it's just I had anxiety. I had to do something.
Thing.
Like I
I
have
needed
to
to be in
move
control of something moving forward. Yeah.
exactly.
And I think even like having lived in corporate culture for so long, you've stayed entrepreneurial for a lot. I think corporate culture just loves a good anxious person, right? They think, oh, wow, she's so great at anticipating people's needs. And you just said it before, right? Like you're doomsday planning all of the 25 potential scenarios. And that's because from the time you were 5 years old, you're trying to avoid conflict in the room and just reading everybody's cues and body language and trying to keep the peace, right? I don't think it's necessarily a great thing that we do.
Yeah, it's a double-edged sword, right? Reading people in a room and also trying to like when there's a real crisis, I'm the perfect person around, right? I get calm, I get whatever. But there's also it's like always having to be that person is very taxing. Because while in crisis moments or in serious situations, even with work, when everyone's making it a serious situation, well, if it's $1 million shoot and it goes to hell, it is a serious situation. Someone's getting
Yeah.
fired.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think that in the moment, I'm very calm. Backlash is a bitch.
Well, and I think the letdown, right? I think the thing that happens is you get through all the crises, and then you step back and you're like, "Whoa, okay, I got to unpack some of this. That was not great. This was not great. We fucked this up. We gave this up for that." And that sometimes is worse than what it would have been if you'd have let the crisis unravel. And I mean, depending on the crisis, some of it you can't let unravel, but there is this sort of like what's the worst that can happen that we could apply to a lot of things. I also think that the way we live these days is everything must be instant, right? If your web page took more than a second to load, you're like fuck this stuff, right? Like your people have zero patience, and so we are making everyone believe that everything must be done right now, everything is urgent.
And perfect.
and perfect. And I have lived in scenarios where the leadership team perpetuates that problem that you're describing, right? They're thinking everything is terrible and this is a disaster and this is a war game. This isn't just a scenario. And so they're sending text messages at 10 at night, or you're on holiday, but they're like, can I just interrupt you really quickly? Those are things that breed that culture, and that anxiety gets bred in the people on your team. And those are the walls that I protect from my team. I try to put a little layer on it and say, okay, is this place going to burn down between now and 8 a.m.? Especially when we work with, we work with agencies like yourself. And so we as clients are terrible at punting it to you urgently, urgently at 6
Yeah,
p.m.
you are. Every
I
single
know.
freaking one of you. It's like, okay, if I just give this to my agency, I'll feel okay.
It's their
It's
problem.
somebody else's problem.
Exactly. And I look at those things and I'm like, one, I got to be a good partner to my agencies because they're humans. And
Oh, God
two, I
bless you.
need to, and two, it's like, is this really anything they can solve between like 6 p.m. and my 8 a.m.? Sometimes you guys are on the East Coast and I'm on the West Coast. So, okay, if I give it to you at your 8 a.m. by my 8 a.m., you may have had a few hours to solve it, but I don't
Right.
need to send it to you at 8 p.m. Fuck.
Right. Also, though, Kelly, I'm not on the East Coast. Once again,
I
I
know.
live in the Midwest and it's a different time zone. Different time zone.
I was just
But I am two
generalizing.
hours ahead of you all the time. Every single day, I'm 2 hours ahead.
I know you're in the future. It's like speaking to the future.
Kelly, let me tell you what happens in the next 2 hours of your day.
Let me know what this afternoon brings.
Today,
Joy.
today it's joy. It's joy and fun.
Let's go back to what you were talking about before, though, people pleasing. Because I think a lot of us treat that like it's our main job.
Yeah, especially so I'm in the service industry, right? I mean, agencies provide service.
Yeah.
I am very much, and some of the stuff that I'm sharing is maybe how I used to feel. I've kind of gotten to a point in my life and in my career where I'm like, you want something better? Feel free to go fucking find it. So I've just gotten to a point where I'm getting better with boundaries, where I'm like, hey, it's okay to have an off day. It's
Mm,
okay to have a day that you don't get shit done.
yeah.
Right. But I used to be like, if I wasn't productive, I'm a piece of shit. Like
Yeah.
literally, that would be the feelings I would have about myself. So going back to people pleasing. So people pleasing, business is relationships, period, end of story. And people that tell you differently are dead inside.
Yeah. They are horrible people. Zombies.
So you were talking about good and bad clients. I don't have bad clients because I just won't do it.
Yeah.
Like I,
But you're in that place where you can choose, right? You can.
with this economy, not so much, but still, it doesn't. I mean, it's just not worth the people that want something fixed. I've done the days of working on, Chrysler Super Bowl work where, hey, it's 10 o'clock at night, but the CMO is landing in Rome in 2 hours. I need
Yeah.
everyone to fix this edit before he
Before he
sees it.
lands. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
like, it really?
Yeah.
Because it
This is
doesn't air. Because it doesn't air for another 3 weeks.
exactly. And
So
he would appreciate that he is 6 or 9 or however many hours ahead, and should be expecting it in normal business hours.
I don't think he thought that way.
Well, maybe not.
Again, the culture
It
of,
depends.
it depends who your leaders are. I
Yeah.
love when people, so I try really hard not to send emails over the weekend.
Same.
What I will do is if I'm working on the weekend, I will write it and there's this little fun thing, this little scheduling thing.
Schedule send.
Schedule send for 8 a.m. Monday morning.
Yep. And
Go
let
ahead.
me interrupt for a quick sec. Do you ever get those ones, or have you ever sent those ones though, where you're like, "Hey, I don't want you to respond to this over the weekend. I'm just clearing my inbox. So here's my email. Please respond to me on Monday." Do you do that, or have you gotten those? Because I feel like those are passive aggressive emails.
I have never sent one of those.
Yeah.
Wait, I may have, but it wasn't passive aggressive. It was literally, and the person I was sending it to knows me well enough that if it was urgent, I'd text them.
Yeah. Text them.
Right.
Yeah.
So I am like, email, I'm a little all over the place with. I try really hard to do the schedule send. If I'm texting you, it means I need your freaking attention.
Yeah. Exactly. I agree.
But people do that. When I was younger, I worked all the time and I got hailed for it.
Well, this is the thing. I think
Hardest
that,
worker there. I
yep.
mean, man, I'll answer to an email at 2 a.m. Sure, I'm out drinking. It's fine.
I think people pleasing is sneaky, right? Because you're doing it out of kindness, right? You are trying to make sure that that person has what he needs when he lands the plane. And so for you, that's what it feels like. And it does, it gets you promoted. It gets you talked about as somebody who solves problems. But you do also know that if the appropriate or what you believed would be the appropriate response to that, oh my God, you're amazing. Thanks so much. Whatever it was that you wanted out of that, if that doesn't come to you, you can feel not only exhausted because you pulled that shit out at 10 at night, but I think it also makes you feel kind of resentful and sometimes thinking, God, don't you guys see what I'm doing for you? Like, don't you understand what I'm sacrificing? So I think it's sneaky, like your desire to people please and the fact that it is admired and promoted and all this. You're like, ooh, this is a slippery slope we're on here.
It is because also you set the standard,
Yep.
right?
Yeah,
And
as a leader, for sure.
well, but also for yourself, right?
Yeah.
If Christy's always on, when Christy's not on, everyone's like, you all right over there? You
Yeah.
okay?
Did
You
you
know, they're
die?
like, are you dead? Are you okay? Because if you're always Johnny on the spot, the second that you're not, it's a problem
Yeah.
because people have learned to expect that from you
You have set a very high bar for only yourself.
because they don't expect the rest of the team to be that way. They're like,
Exactly.
this person's just that way.
Yep.
And I think one of the things it's challenging right now in yes, I'm an entrepreneur, but I mean, I worked in agency corporate America and I worked in corporate America, but is that we have a younger generation coming in and I think people think they're really lazy.
Mm.
Well, are they lazy or do they have really good boundaries? Or is
This
it
is
somewhere in between,
I think it's
right?
somewhere, I think it's definitely somewhere in between because I do think that a lot of things have been handed to them or things have come easily because everything is so accessible. But you're absolutely right. They set good boundaries because even my son, in one of his first years in sales, he was talking about customers who would send him a voice message at like 4:30 in the afternoon. And he is just like, no, I'm not answering that. And I will, unless their store is on fire, I'm not answering it before tomorrow at 8:30. And I said to him, wow, like that's surprising because you have this like customer is always right mentality if you grew up in the 80s or 90s. And he's like, no, mom, they're boundaries. I'm setting boundaries and they'll learn. And it kind of took me back. I was like, hot damn. Well, I ruined that. I didn't set any of those boundaries. And now I'm fucked and I have to answer everything because I always do.
And now I have anxiety.
Exactly. Now I have anxiety. I saw the funniest reel on Amy Poehler's podcast
I
recently.
love her, by the
She
way.
had,
I love her.
she's so
I
great.
love her. She's so great.
She had
Thank you,
Rashida.
Amy, for being great because I know you
Yeah,
listen to
exactly.
us.
Yes. She has a podcast called Good Hang with Amy, I think it is. And she had Rashida Jones on. And she was talking about her doing the podcast. But what she was making this statement about was like men, and this is not an anti men statement, but she was saying how men do the bare minimum and they're perfectly fine doing the bare minimum. And so she's like, this podcast is my bare fucking minimum. It's 25%. It is my 25%. And God damn it, that's enough. And I was like, are we allowed to do that? Are we allowed? Are we reset the bar? How do we reset this
This
gauge?
podcast is my 25%. As you might know, Kelly, because I don't help with any of the heavy lifting when it's over. But I'm going to start. I'm going to start doing that.
Thank
But
you.
I'm only giving 50, like
Yeah.
maybe 75. But the last thing in the world that I need from this podcast is anxiety.
It's anxiety, exactly.
Because
Yeah.
that defeats the freaking purpose. It's an outlet,
I
right?
think that we have ambitions for what, it would be so great to have this Mel Robbins level, podcast. But honestly, we're doing it to have fun and to kind of tell some laughs and get some shit off our chest and feed that creative stuff. You get to do it a lot more than I do. But outside of that, I don't want it to become like, oh my God, I have to do this thing. I have to do. So if that's your 25%, sister, I'm here for it. And let's face it, if you're a people pleaser and you're really highly ambitious, if you can train a marathon, get a divorce, and get an MBA at the same time, your 25 is probably a lot of people's 110. So don't feel
Well,
bad.
thank you. I've been told that by leadership that actually cared about me. That was like, hey, kid,
There you
listen,
go.
your mail it in is better than most people's, which, I mean, those are, thank you. Like, it wasn't, God, these are God-given things for me. Like, they're not like, oh, I just decided one day I was going to wake up and think this way,
Yeah, exactly.
but that's always appreciated. And I think it's really important, to coach our youth, right? Like, hey, because the great thing is this chair just making the most noise.
You do have a little squeak, but don't get anxious
Hold
about
on.
it.
I have WD-40. Please hold.
Dude, I
Hold,
don't think you
Kelly.
need to spray.
Hold on.
I don't know how I feel about the fact that Christy has UD40 within arm's reach of her podcast. Jesus Christ. I can't.
I'm always prepared, Kelly.
I am equal parts in awe and also terrified for you.
Well,
I've never asked you to swing your camera around, though. You could be in the garage for all I know, and then it would make way more sense.
no, I hate squeaky anything, like squeaky wheels. Like, if it makes noise that isn't necessary.
I feel like this is an episode of Let's Make a Deal where I'm like, if you can pull a hard-boiled egg out of your purse, I'll give you $200.
It's still squeaking. Hold, please. Hold on. I missed the
Oh,
spot.
for God's sakes.
Listen.
You're giving me anxiety.
Welcome to my brain and how it works.
Oh my God. Let's see. Can she? Oh, she did it. She crushed it.
Yeah, I can move around now. And this is brought
treat.
to you by WD-40. No, it's actually
This
not.
episode is brought to you by lubrication. The surefire cure for anxiety is some sort of oil-based lubricant. You just do with that what you will.
Hey, listen, if we're going to be sponsored by a lubricant, can it not be WD?
It ain't WD-40, my friends. And if it is, we need an episode on health and safety.
Now I can't breathe because I think I sprayed too much of this shit. What's this danger thing say?
Do not inhale. Use in a well-ventilated area. Exactly.
Fantastic. Awesome.
Oh my God, you're so pretty.
Freaking fan on. Oh, please, the fan's got to come on. Okay, so
Dear
Kelly,
God. I love this was what the hell is happening?
I'm moving my walking pad, okay? Because I have a walking pad that I use when I work. Because God forbid I do only one thing at a time.
God. Like we could podcast or we could do home renos. If this was a DIY podcast, this would be amazing.
Oh, I'm terrible at DIY.
Also, you're terrible at the acronym.
Did I say it wrong? Kelly, I can't spell.
You can't spell. I mean, I'll forgive you of that. If you need some DIY, call me, because one of the things that hurts my feelings the most about renting. Hello, I'm back. I'm sweaty, but I'm back. I think the thing that hurts the most about renting is that I can't DIY the shit out of this house. Whereas
Kelly,
in my own home, I love a DIY.
Kelly, you just need to pack your little duds and move to Kansas City because I got projects out the bazoo.
Okay.
I am not.
Send me a list. I'm not going to overachieve it, but I'll give you 25%.
Hey, you're 25% of DIY.
DIY. Do it yourself. God. Seriously.
That's
do yourself it is a different episode. Again, with the lubricants. God almighty. Children, skip past this part.
There's no children listening to this.
Where Auntie Kelly is talking about sexy things. Did I ever tell you my brother listened to our first podcast snippet and he texted me back? And we were doing the whole vajazzling conversation. My brother is a captain at a fire department in Toronto. He's a very serious guy, as you hope your firefighters are.
Yeah, that and hot.
Well, listen, it's my brother. I don't want to talk about gross yuck. Anyways.
Him, I'm just saying in general.
He is hot, though. He is hot. He's 6'4". He's a handsome guy. But Jonathan was like,
okay.
We're talking about lady bits and vajazzling, and he's like, Kelly, I could only watch the first 2 minutes because I love you, but I don't want to listen to you talk about your lady bits. I don't know how I got there, but I thought that was a funny little anecdote to share with you. We were talking about inappropriate topics.
I'm sorry, I'm over here dying. Can I tell a really funny story that has nothing to do, well, it does have to do with anxiety because it did definitely create some anxiety. In college, I lived with my brother-in-law and my sister. Well, he moved in and I was not consulted and I didn't like him. I thought he was an absolute asshole, actually.
I am assuming he is no longer your brother-in-law or you wouldn't be talking shit about him.
No, he still is, and I love him like crazy. But he's
Okay.
still an asshole. No, I'm just kidding.
That was a surprise ending.
No, 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 no. I just, anyways, whatever. So he one day was cleaning the bathroom and I think he used like hydrogen peroxide and bleach. He
Yeah.
also, together.
Yeah, yeah, so he almost killed himself, but go on.
But no, no, literally. And he's highly asthmatic. And so I'm
Jesus.
taking a nap as one tends to do when you're a bartender and never go to class anyways. So then, going back to like the anxiety thing, school, I just need the degree. I didn't care if I got an A or a D. Didn't matter to me.
You're like my
So,
boys. C's
well,
get
I
degrees.
I
I
mean,
mean,
if
they're not
if I c
wrong.
well, to be clear, I got A's in any time I went to class, but I don't think I ever really cracked a book for my undergrad. Like,
I know
there
it
was
seems
definitely, like, you see these movies and you're like, "I'm gonna be like these students and go to school and I'm gonna study really hard." And I was like,
nah, fuck.
"Oh,
No, I'm
that
gonna be Van Wilder or fucking Ferris Bueller. That's gonna be me. Same.
guilty."
Guilty.
So,
So you're
anyways,
taking a nap from your studies, and your
from
brother-in-law,
my
the
studies
asthmatic, is cleaning a
and
non-well
my
ventilated
sisters,
area.
there's no window in here, Kelly.
Course not.
You know, chlorine or whatever, bleach and freaking, whatever else.
Hydrogen peroxide.
Hydrogen peroxide, and he comes into my room and he's like, "Christy, Christy," and I was like, "Get the fuck out, dude." Literally, those were my words. This is how I talk to this man. And he's like, I can't breathe." And I was like, "So?
Yeah.
What do you mean
Go
you can't breathe?
outside.
Where's where's your inhaler?" And here's the thing. I might not know how to say DIY,
IY.
but I know a little bit about chemicals and what you should and
Yeah.
shouldn't mix. And I was like, "Oh my God, you're such a dumbass." Oh, I shouldn't have said his name. Bleep his name out. I'm like, "You're such a dumbass." And so I just take the dude to the ER and he was like literally like dying. Dying.
Did did you give him his inhaler though? First? Oh,
I was irritated. I was like,
you gotta
"Man, I
go
gotta work
outside.
tonight. Get in the fucking car."
I love that like
Texting my
10 minutes.
sister on my Nokia, what was it,
Your
91,
T9
whatever.
your T9 texting. This is gonna take 15 minutes because I have a lot of R's and S's. So tick 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 tick.
you know, "Hey, you might die. You might want to come. We're at this hospital." But
Can I
that's just
just
going back to this thing, not
Sure, but can I also,
anxiety.
for the listeners, go back to the statement you made some minutes ago where you were like, in a crisis, I'm who you want? This story was life or death. And you're like, get the fuck out of my room. What do you want, dude? Are you stupid? Like, I don't know. These feel a little bit incongruous, but it was a good story. And
In
he's
my
still around.
defense, I was 20 years old.
Sure.
Okay.
And you probably hadn't slept much because you worked the night before or something.
Hungover because I was a bartender. And guess
Yeah.
what? Bartenders drink their own drinks too. And I think we had dollar Long Islands at this restaurant that I worked at on Thursdays, and we
I
had so
can't
many
tell
different
you.
flavors.
I can't tell you the last time I had a really good Long Island iced tea.
I'm sorry, that seems like it's an oxymoron.
Why?
Good and Long Island
Oh,
iced
you don't
tea.
like them?
I
I
mean,
do.
I haven't had one since like college,
College.
probably.
They were good though. Did you ever drink a vodka paralyzer?
No, but tell me what's in it, and I'll tell you.
Oh, it's like a white Russian with Pepsi on top.
Isn't
It
that a
feels
Black
like it
Russian?
should. No, a black Russian is everything except the milk. No Pepsi gets involved, I don't think, in that build. And
First
then a
of
white
all,
Russian has milk,
what
and
does
then you
it?
add Pepsi, and it's a vodka paralyzer. And I also think that's why I'm 6 feet tall and super strong bones because I drank a lot before I was legal.
You got your calcium in.
I got a lot
Hey,
of calcium in. I grew up in a small town.
me too. And you know what? Here's how we would spend our weekends. Did you ever see the movie Varsity Blues? You won't remember if you had, so I'm just going to keep going. I asked that
Thank you for
question. It's like, I'm
correcting yourself.
sorry.
You caught it
Like,
right in the moment.
yep, sorry, Kelly. You don't remember anything to do with entertainment.
Thank you.
But heck, we went to, I just said heck, dude. There we go. We would go out into like an old dirt road and someone would get a keg and we'd make
Yeah.
a bonfire and
Yeah.
drink.
It's a
That's what
field
we
party.
did for fun. Yeah, yeah.
It's a field party.
Yeah.
Yeah, we grew up in like rural Ontario, Canada, and we would have field parties, and there would be 100 drunk kids. And then this is so bad because I would straight up murder my children if they did this. We used to do car rallies. There were no DDs. Fuck a DD at that time. So you're basically doing a scavenger hunt behind the wheel of a vehicle. And you're driving around looking for these. It's terrible. We're lucky we're damn well alive. And now we have monitors on all our babies to make sure their temperature's right and they don't have gas. And before we were like, we never wore seatbelts. We never wore seatbelts and we drove around drunk in the fucking fields. I'm surprised we all made it out. Well,
I am
that's why
too.
you
And
can't
actually,
kill a Gen Xer, man. We were
right?
feral. Yes.
Feral. Feral. Give me a seatbelt, whatever.
But also high functioning anxiety because we were trying to get it all done. And you're not broken, you're just hyper alert all
Yeah,
the time.
I'm not anymore because now I'm high on WD-40, so I'm not super hyper alert right now. But I can be hyper alert. Listen, I mean, especially when it comes to the nighttime.
Like on behalf of the children, or you just yourself have anxiety and you're like pinging for some thing to come and murder
Ding,
you.
ding, ding, ding.
Really? Anywhere you are? Like even in your own home?
Sometimes not as much in my own home anymore, but when I was younger, like when I was living on my own, yeah. I mean, I would wake up once a night and swear to God someone was in my apartment about to rape and kill me.
What about when you travel right now as an adult?
So I have some solutions for that. I don't like to be in hotel rooms by myself. And my VP and I, we bunk in together because she's also one of my best friends. And she's like, and we don't see each other a lot. So when we go, like we're going to Austria, we're going to Vienna in a few days for a week for work. And yes, I'm really working. Am I going to have fun? Absolutely.
You
But
can
it
do
is
both
work.
things.
I
Multitask.
believe they should go together. And if
They
they don't,
should.
you're in the
You should
wrong
have fun at
industry.
work or you're doing the wrong job.
Yeah, or you work with the wrong team. Because I have seen
100%.
some people make work that should be fun suck.
You,
Like I worked on Chuck E. Cheese at one point.
that feels like it should be fun. That place is all about fun and cholesterol.
Yeah. Uh the
It's
the
not.
the CEO was like, how could you make that job not fun? He made it very not fun. I'm
Maybe he
probably
had
gonna
a
get
lot of
sued.
pressure.
Hopefully someone sees enough people. I don't care. Here's the thing. So when I used to look up to my bosses in leadership and I gave them a lot of grace, right? I'm like, they're under a lot of pressure, da 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 da. Here's the kicker. I'm under a shit ton of pressure. It does not give me permission to act like an asshole. Period.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that just wasn't around like when we were growing up. It's like the bigger your job, that's squeaking again. The bigger your job, like the
The
more,
more dickishness is tolerated
correct,
or encouraged. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
which
I think
causes anxiety in little account executives like myself.
it causes anxiety and it creates a culture and a pattern of behavior that then 20 years from now when they're CEOs they're mimicking. And so I think you said something a little while ago about your kids and just actually putting a name to how you're feeling. And while I don't ever remember my parents, my mom especially, don't ever remember her saying I'm having a hard time or I'm really worried about this or I'm snapping because I'm stressed because of X, Y, and Z. And my mom had a lot of things that she could have been bitching about. My dad, finances, whatever. She never did. Just a strong ass woman. And so you mirror that behavior. And I think nowadays we're starting to learn that actually admitting it and showing the vulnerability to your children. And I do now do with my team a little more than I ever did before. It's not weakness. I think it's authenticity and it's a strategy, right? You are setting a culture of it's okay to be vulnerable. That
You
wasn't a
assist them.
thumbs up. I had to turn that off.
Do the
To be
one.
to be vulnerable and to be authentic and to open a door for somebody to come in and help you.
I love everything you just said, but here's my question. You
Mm.
described your mother as a very strong woman,
Mm-hmm.
which no doubt she is. Would it have made her any less strong if she was vulnerable?
No,
Because I think it takes a tremendous amount of strength to be
totally.
vulnerable.
Totally. That's what I'm saying. I think like I grew up in the 80s and that just wasn't done. You just like grit it. You just stuff it down where your feelings belong and you just keep on going, right? And if my mom had have like been sitting in the chair with her cup of tea and her Bible and had actually started to cry and just said, I'm having a tough time, I would have been like, what do you need? What can I do for you? Otherwise, you're blissfully like, my mom's fine. She can handle all this shit. Meanwhile, she was probably like crying at night when she went to bed every time. So now that she's, well in her 70s, I'm just like, Mom, I learned from the best, but it's okay to be scared. Like, it's just like we're trying to peel ourselves out of that generation. That would have been shit. It's the same women who didn't get hormone therapy for menopause and they were supposed to be like, take a bath, have a glass of wine, shake it off, right? Like, we're getting away from that and we can talk about this stuff. So I love that you share that kind of stuff with your kids, and I try to share it more. I had a really hard 2024. There was stuff on my team, horrible accidents in their family and injuries in themselves, and, a whole bunch of stuff. And I personally, like, because it was all happening on my team, and I personally was getting affected by it. And I remember somebody saying to me, well, why are you even worried about that? That's not you. And I was like, no, it is me, because it's them. So it's me. So I am internalizing it for them. I feel for how they're feeling. I care for what kind of stress is around them. And I feel like it's my job to take what I can away from them, because I'm not going through those things. And I got to a place where I remember being on a Zoom call with two male guys on my team.
Two male guys.
Two male guys. Well, actually, it is 2025. You do have to sort of specify. So, two guys on my team. And at that moment, we were talking about some of this stuff. And I said, guys, I never would have subscribed to a personal day like a mental health day. And I said, I'm prefacing that to say I don't disbelieve in them. I think there's value. I just, for myself, was never at a point where I would say I need a mental health day. I said, but if I ever did need one, it is today. And I felt like that was such an admission of sort of weakness, but both guys were shocked that I shared it, not in a bad way. And they were like, Kelly, why are you on this phone? If this is how you're feeling, why are you working today?
Oh, I love them.
I know. So I said, I've got some stuff I have to do today, but I looked at my calendar with real critical, like to your point earlier about it is okay to not be okay. I looked at the calendar. It was Thursday, Friday. A bunch of my colleagues were traveling, so they weren't even around. And I was like, you know what? I'm taking the next 2 days. I took personal days for the next 2 days. And I was like, oh man, I needed that. And I never would have been there in the last decade.
I mean, like, I can't. I was so afraid of getting fired my whole career, which is hysterical because remember when I was
Your own
telling you I was
business?
promoted and promoted and promoted and promoted? Like, I literally was like, I'm going to get fired. Someone's going to figure out I'm a hack.
Well, that's our imposter syndrome episode all over. You're like,
I
they're
know. But
going to
speaking of
see
hacks,
me. Oh,
have you
yes.
watched it? Gene
The
Smart?
show Gene Smart.
Hacks?
Yeah. I am like 5 episodes in, but she's my spirit animal of sarcasm
Oh
and
my gosh, it's
stand-up
so
comedy.
funny. I know. I'm like, well, I mean, other than her like kind of terrible personal life and stuff, because there's
Well,
definitely a lot of heartbreak, but usually that's where comedy comes from, right? It's
yeah.
taking the stuff that sucks and making it funny so that you can
Yeah.
actually, you
Cope with
know,
it.
cope with it and actually, whatever. I love that show
Yeah, this is a good
hacks.
show.
I love it. Gene Smart, I love you so much. I just
And also,
someday,
she
yeah.
makes me want to wear more wigs because I'm like, man, that really shortens up your get ready period.
Think that her character has any shortened getting ready times, but I can't wear wigs because my head sweats.
I'm I think everybody's head sweats.
Well, the first thing to start sweating on me is my head.
Okay. Oh,
I'm a
interesting.
hothead, Kelly. Didn't you know this?
So all of the rage comes out of the top of my head on the steam button that's at the top.
And while I'm people pleasing, I'm raging up here.
I'm the opposite. I'm the duck on the water, right? I'm just like, everything is fine. And then below the surface, it's like fucking panic.
Panic, 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 panic.
Exactly. These old
Oh my
feet are going.
gosh.
But yes, that is a great show. Listen, Sonny is like, I can't find my mama. I need to park at the door. He's saving you from the dragons that are at the front of the house. Oh, sorry.
How does everyone call it? Like, it's like Sunny.
Cats are girls, dogs are boys. It's just kind of like built into us.
Oh, well, I think that people think her name is Sunny, like Sunny and Cher, but it's really with a U.
Like the sunshine.
So, yeah, like, hold on. I'm going to mute myself for 1 second and yell at my dog.
Okay. I will fill the gap of the air so nobody hears what shit you talk to your dog.
No one would ever accuse either of us of not being able to fill gaps in conversation.
Exactly. Well, let's get back to our topic of you're
Okay.
not broken, you're just hyper alert. We should probably give our listeners some sort of coping mechanisms beyond beverage alcohol and sarcasm.
A few.
Yeah, let's hear it.
So,
you have the most therapy of the two of us. So I'm
okay, well,
actually going to
speaking,
take notes on this
my
one.
therapist taught me this. It's called
Yes.
ocean breathing.
Oh.
And you breathe in
Mm-hmm.
5 seconds, breathe out 5 seconds, do it continuously and make your breath feel
Like a
like
wave.
like an ocean. And it will, and again, I suffer from serious anxiety. Like I'm actually medicated for my anxiety. And that will take me from the point that, like, when you feel it in your throat, because I,
Yeah.
I get anxiety, like it like
That's
shows
where
up
I
like
felt it.
here.
Yeah, like somebody was
But
choking me. I'm like, this
so
is weird.
ocean breathing,
Okay.
and I know everyone's like, take a deep breath. This is different. This is a continuous thing that you can do. And I find myself or found, I don't know, the grammar's probably wrong, but I find myself, before a meeting or something that I'm nervous or anxious about, I'll do that. I'll ocean
Hmm.
breathe. And then I
Mm.
go in and I feel amazing.
Okay.
Ocean breathing.
Okay.
And also just, for me, again, with the same therapist. I've been to like 25 therapists. This therapist is amazing. If you live in the Kansas City area, give me a shout. I'll slide into my DMs and I'll tell you his name. But anyways, also just being worthy. Like
What do you
not
mean?
having to achieve, like I'm worthy just as I am.
So knowing
There's
your worth, knowing your worth.
Well, and just also, like, I don't have to constantly impress people. I don't
Mm.
have to run a marathon. I don't have to
Mm.
start a business. I don't have to, be perfect. I am worthy by just being me, because there's only one of me. In all of time and all of history, there's only one
Yeah.
of me, and there's only one of you.
Yeah.
Right? There will never be your DNA, your situation. And so when you really start to think about that, like, there's only one of you. You're one
Yeah.
of a kind. We all are.
Yeah.
And so getting into that place that's like, what I am is inherently special because there's only one of me.
I do think that that's probably something, it's a bit of a reframe, right? You're trying to reframe your brain from whatever anxiety or negative messages are putting you in a spin. One thing that I found that was helpful for me, especially when this sort of anxiety for me showed up, usually in the middle of the night, I would wake up and then you can't shut your brain off. And I know we talked about pirate and spelling words like that, but here's the other thing that I did that worked. I would just start talking about things that I was, well, in my head, not out loud, because I'm married and my husband would be like, shut the fuck up. I started to talk to myself about what I was grateful for that day.
Yeah.
And it was always surprising to me how many things I was actually grateful, like how many great things happened in the day. And sometimes it's just like the coffee was really good in the morning, or my husband brought me coffee, I didn't have to make it. And I would go through this list of things I was grateful for, and it just reframed my brain into a less anxious space, into a more grateful space. And then I would always fall back to sleep.
That's amazing. And I love that.
That's
I have
free. You don't even have
That's
to
free.
pay
I
me.
have actually one more thing
Oh,
that I would
yes.
recommend all women listen to this podcast.
Yes.
It's on Oprah's podcast, and it's her podcast with Jamie Kern Lima.
Okay.
And then she's the founder of It Cosmetics, and she also wrote the book
Hmm.
called Worthy.
Okay.
That podcast, I talk about my therapist, him too, but like that podcast like shifted something in my soul where I was
Mm.
like, holy crap. So I'm not going to tell you any more about it.
We'll link it when
I'll
we
link it.
remember to.
Yes, yes, Oprah's podcast with Jamie Kern Liam. I think it's
Okay.
Liam. I think that's how you say it. But anyways, she's the founder of It Cosmetics. So it was transformative for me. And one of my sisters said, "Hey, give me the Cliffs notes." And I'm like, "Absolutely not. You need to go listen to 45 minutes of it. You'll be glad you did." So,
Okay. I will listen to 45 minutes of it.
all right. Well,
Speaking of 45 minutes, we're over again. We always
I
have
know.
such a
Can we
nice
ever
chat.
get we do.
What?
Well, I think it was
Hey,
the
let me
WD.
ask.
There's always
Who
some go ahead.
your WD
There's
40
always
is so
some like
awesome.
rabbit hole that we fall into that has nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Listen, we have falsely just given ourselves a time that we've said we must keep it under this many minutes. This is our damn podcast. We could Joe Rogan this shit and talk for 4 hours if we want to. We won't, but we could.
I don't want to talk for 4 hours. I got to go pick up my kids and get on my to-do list so I can like sleep tonight and don't sit there awake
Okay.
going, I have to pack, Kelly. I have to pack for
Yes, it's
Vienna.
true. And you also, got some celebrations and some things to upcoming that you got to think about. So we'll just, we'll
It's my
check back in.
birthday weekend.
We should just say it's your birthday month, and so you're gonna
Well, it
celebrate with
is
a
because I've
range
already
of
started
things.
celebrating.
Exactly. You already told me that before. You have many birthday celebrations.
I do. I
So
do.
let's leave our listeners with some takeaways we want to hear about. Give us some of your favorite anxiety or personality moments. We want to read them before our next episode. So mostly so we can feel better about ourselves and that we're all in it together.
Yes, yes. And until next time, stay stable. I mean, unstable. Don't be too stable. It's boring.
Stable's boring.
Stable is boring. It is boring. And you know what? Maybe just breathe. Maybe ocean breathe one time during your day
Just
and see
inside.
if you feel any better.
Yeah.
And then just keep going. You just keep going. Make it a wave. All right, Kelly. Good
We'll
to talk
talk
to
to you
you.
later.
Bye.
Bye.